Good morning. This morning I'm going to spend some more time working on my North Pole Village. These designs are from Designs by Juju. I've done a few the last couple of days that I'm showing you now. Today I'm going to be working on the train depot. So I have already picked my fabrics, backed them with Steam-A-Seam 2, peeled off the backing and put them on the mat. I've loaded the mat into my Scan and Cut, and now it's time to cut out the pieces. So I will push the start button, and we will watch it cut it out. It's cutting out the roof. Now it's cutting out the front of the building. Cutting out the front step. Now we're cutting out a window and a wall. And the sign. And that's all there is to cutting out all the applique pieces for my train depot. And now I should be able to just lift them off. And there's the window. And there's a sign for out front. Sometimes there's a little tag that stays on it that needs to be snipped with the scissors. I can't hold a camera, pull the thing in, snip with the scissors all at once. And what I figured out is that is just the start-stop point in the SVG file. And sometimes it just does it. So I need to put the camera down to finish doing this, and I will see you soon. Okay, I have all the parts removed, and I've moved over to my ironing board now. I like to lay all the pieces out and iron them down, and that kind of helps if any of the pieces kind of warped while you're picking them up. It puts them back down to the size they should be. I've also already stitched the placement stitch. I'm not sure if you can see that on here. And I did go ahead and lay the green one down before it stitched the placement for the yellow. I have accidentally stitched them all down, come over here and realized they were layered on top of each other, and I couldn't layer them because I couldn't see where the second one went after I did the first one. So I learned from that and laid the green one down, and so now we just start putting the puzzle together. So I'm going to go over here and take the window, and the window goes in the window. And it's okay if you see a little bit of stitching around, because this particular digitizer does a wide zigzag, so it's very forgiving for misplacements. And then I'm going to go for the middle wall. And I am right-handed, and unfortunately I'm holding the camera in my right hand now. So I'm having to do this left-handed, but it's just like putting a puzzle together. And then we'll go for the sign. I've got my K-Love playing in the background. I like to listen to music while I craft. I do have a TV down here, but I don't find there's much on TV that I like to have on when I'm creating, so I listen to my Christian music. Okay, and then we've got one more piece left. It goes the tire length, and you can kind of see the shiny stuff. That's the Steam-A-Seam 2. That's what's helping it stick down here. And this is the train station, so the train tracks will be embroidered on. They're not appliqued on. And once you see them, you'll realize why I am glad that the train tracks are not. Okay, so there is that, and they're all stuck down. Since it's Steam-A-Seam 2, it does stick. But what I found with this particular digitizer, she thinks it's already stuck down because of the alternate way of doing this, and it's not. And so she does a lot of inside stitching, and that makes the edges pop up just a little bit. So I found out that my iron, my full-size iron, actually fits inside this hoop. So I can, and I'm trying to reach for my iron while I'm trying to hold the camera still. And the iron fits diagonally in the hoop without melting my hoop away. Be careful. There are travel size irons, and I do have travel size irons. I just prefer my full size iron. And I got it in and out, and since it is Steam-A-Seam, I can use steam. I do like to use steam. And now they're all tacked down, and it is hot, so I like to cool it off before I put it on the embroidery machine. So next time you see it, it will be on the embroidery machine. And I thought I'd stop by and give you a sneak peek at what we're doing. I like to have the design up on the screen as I'm stitching to know what thread comes next and where it goes. And in my particular software, I can hide threads as we're done with them. So I like to hide them after they're stitched so I don't accidentally load the wrong thread. And then now we will swing over to the embroidery machine. And I have a Janome 350E. It's an embroidery only machine. I like to bring the bobbin thread up so I don't end up with thread nests on the back. So I have already loaded the white thread since we're going to do the snow part. And I like to hold, I like to hold the strings. And I've already put the presser foot down. And I need to push the start button while holding the threads, while holding the camera. There we go. And so now we're going to start stitching the snow. And once it takes 4 or 5 stitches, I like to stop. My machine doesn't automatically cut the threads. And so that's why I bring the bobbin thread up. Okay, and now we're stitching the snow. And there's also a candy cane support, and so while it's stitching the white here, it will also go over and stitch the candy cane support. Looks like a barber pole to me, but I'm sure since it's the North Pole Village, it's a candy cane. And now every time it's done stitching one color thread, I'll have another thread to load. I've got a few of my threads started here. That will get me through stitching the railroad ties. So I will stop now and come back towards the end of the design and show you how it finished up. Here's an update part of the way in. We're stitching the railroad ties now. We've already done the snow and the chimney and around the window. One thing I didn't mention earlier was the settings that I used. So I brought the settings screen up. The little wrench on the left, and it's the second page. I used a cut speed of 2, a cut pressure of 2, and this one needed a blade depth of about 3.5. The other thing I didn't mention is with Steam-A-Seam 2, I like to use the low tack adhesive mat. I started with the standard mat and it stuck too much and it was hard to lift up. So I switched to the low tack mat and it works great for me. It does take the design a while to stitch out, so I thought I would show you my workspace. This is my cutting table. Pile of a bunch of fabrics on the left. Little strips of them at the top that I decide what goes with which house in the North Pole Village. I've got a lot of sulky thread choices. I also have a wonderful collection of some other threads that my mother-in-law gave me. She used to be an industrial digitizer and gave me her leftovers. I was very thankful for those. And this is the antique pie safe that's from our family. And of course the thread is right beside the machine. And I've got a few more threads laid out. While the machine's stitching, I pick out the fabrics for the next project and pick out threads for further in advance. And I've got a pegboard above my workspace that's got all my sharp objects, my rulers, my hoops. Just have things set up down here the way I like to work. We'll check back in a few more minutes. This is the last minute of stitching. Finishing the sign, and then we'll be able to take it out and see what it looks like. Two more letters to go. Finishing up the E now, and it's done. That's what it looks like finished. And I will go press it, and it will take its place of honor with the rest of the village. Thanks for watching.